Welcome to Dr. Freedom, where we give you the strategies, mindset, and tactics on how to elevate your practice and your life. I'm Dr. Sito Patel. I started my practice in a Starbucks over 7 years ago, and I built it brick by brick to a multi-location practice with an aesthetic OR and a software company. I'm here to give you the secrets to unlock that time and freedom for you.
All right, let's talk about responsibility. Now, how does responsibility apply to happiness? As a physician, we are responsible for our own happiness. It's outside the factors of what happens in the outside world, what happens with our employers, what happens with our own practice, what happens with our family, and everything else. It comes down to responsibility. I've had so many colleagues and so many friends and so many people complain about certain things in their lives that they want to change. They want things to be different. They're upset about a certain conversation, a certain person acting a certain way, not knowing certain things or making assumptions about the situation that they're around. But it comes down to the same thing of responsibility. If you take responsibility from the actual position that you're in at this day and time, it can change how you see it. And for example, let's say you're a hospital employed physician and you're upset with the politics and the bureaucratic process that goes on with it. Well, how do you change that in a way or a frame for yourself? Well, if you take responsibility to say, well, I signed the contract, I knew what I was getting into for this process, it's not an admission of guilt. It's not admission of shame or anything else. But if you take that responsibility in your own hands, then you regain power and control. Now, how does that affect you in terms of the rest of the pieces of what you do next? It affects it drastically. It can change how you actually show up the next day to make different demands when you are prepared for the outcome. And that outcome could be leaving or asking for more pay or asking for a different position, however which way you want to see it. But if you take that responsibility on yourself versus saying, well, the system is what the problem is. It's everything else. It's the economy. It's COVID. It's this big storm that happened. Or it's this that defines your atmosphere. Then you're stuck. There's no way out. You've given yourself no way out because you haven't taken the responsibility to take the next action. Once you take that responsibility, then you have control over what the outcome could be. In this scenario, if you have control, then you feel confident that you can ask for more pay, you can go to private practice, you can transfer to a different hospital, whichever way you want it to be done. But if you take responsibility of the actual sign up of what you signed up to do in terms of, and this is anything in life. This could be even a gym membership, even something simple as that, to say, hey, I signed up for this. Do I hold myself accountable? Am I responsible enough to make the commitment to do the work? In doing the work, it continues to show you the progress, right? It's that repeated work that you have to put in. And you have to do it almost with a violence and like an intentionality to show up that way, to be present and active in what that responsibility is to yourself and the other people around you. Now, if you do that, then it's no longer the surrounding factors that will define whether or not you're happy or not. Because again, you are responsible for your own happiness. In that happiness, it revolves around what these decisions are and how can you empower yourself on each one of these things. And this could be also even as simple as a conversation about what you want and what you don't want, right? It doesn't have to be a backseat to what other people want. You have to put yourself into the story to say, yeah, it may not be the nicest thing in the world, but nice might not work, right, for your wants and needs being met. And that's where you taking the bull by the horns and having that responsibility and saying, I'm responsible for my own happiness. I'm the one that's in charge, and I have the decisions that are in front of me that will take me to a place where I'm happy, or it'll take me to a place that I'm unhappy. All right, let's get to it. What does AdVital do for your aesthetic practice or med spa? Our current clients are making an extra $60,000 to $65,000 to their bottom line every month over month, because they're able to nurture their current patient base and also amplify their qualified leads. Now reach out to AdVital to learn more. Now, making that decision actively every day, as time goes on, our wants and needs may change. And as they change, it may also change the decisions that we decide to make. But what does that mean for us internally and externally? Well, a lot of times, some of our wants we're afraid to actually even let them out, to let them be known, because either that we have a fear of other people judging us, other people, having a different attitude towards us, or we ourselves believe that it's not a good quality to have. Oh, that could be greedy, or that could be self-centered, or this could be more narcissistic for what that want is. But in those wants, there's just the humanistic quality of wanting these things, right? Like, we're designed as humans to want certain things in terms of the life that we're in. Now, for most of the times, that lies in those shadows. And that shadow is what I'm talking about, that gut feeling where you actually end up doing something to please someone else at the cost of yourself. And that cost, essentially, it kind of, irritates you over a period of time. It gets underneath your skin until, there's a point where it's not standable. And therefore the frustrations and all the other pieces come out, and it clouds everything else around you. And in that cloud, that's where most of the issues happen, where we're unhappy. We're unhappy because either we didn't address the shadow parts of us that we don't like to portray, or we think that are bad qualities, but they're still within us. And sometimes they just need to be acknowledged. In acknowledging those things, then you can make the decisions what you want to act on. But I think a lot of times, in terms of taking that responsibility of not only our emotions, but also our feelings, and how we actually make that decision to do that next thing, is what's crucial in building a happy life. And this is, in terms of your life at work, your life in your family, and your friends, right? Having your needs met, having your wants discussed, having the ability to have a safe space to actually have these discussions, even if it's with yourself, even if it's just talking to the other parts of you of why do you want to be famous? Why do you want to write a book? Why do you want to give back? Why do you want to make an impact? Why do you want to be a billionaire? All these questions come back down to, what are the reasons that are underlying those things, and digging deeper, so that way you can get to a point where the shadow and you become one. And when they become one, that's when you have an authentic voice to speak from, because then you know yourself better than anybody else. And you're not hiding a part of you that is the shadow, or the part of you that is present outwards from yourself on the inside. Now, in taking the responsibility to actually show up for that, it's hard. It's not easy. It's not something that we like to face, but there's a part of it that either we grew up with, or we went through different scenarios and situations where things that we believe happened to us, but in truth, they happened for us, right? That mess, becoming your message, and how you take it, interact with it, change and transform what the world is around you, is the story you can tell yourself. It's the ability to rewrite that in terms of the history and the future. Because the only thing that you can control right now is the present. What can you do right now to take full ownership and responsibility to change what is going to happen today? Not even tomorrow, just today. If you focus on today, and the responsibility is, hey, I know my end outcome. I want to be happy. I want to be filled with energy. I want to feel like I'm alive. I want to be present in this day and now. Well, the whole goal of that is to create a memory from that time, because that memory is what we have over time. If you think about it, it's a compilation of memories that make up our lifetime. And those memories are what the currency is this day and age of what happiness could be. Now, if you have a ton of happy memories and things that push your bounds, that were uncomfortable and helped you grow as a person outside of what you thought you could ever become, that's where those memories lie. That's where that happiness lies. It lies on the outside, right past that fear, right past the uncomfort, the fact that you actually have to stay within it long enough to appreciate it. Now, it is our responsibility every day to do these things. Now, whether or not we hold ourselves accountable to that is the bigger question. In terms of accountability, how that accountability to the responsibility ties together. A lot of times there's a disconnect. And a lot of times that disconnect is because of how we were trained as physicians, how we were brought up as kids, how we went through different events, and how we coped with our surroundings. Whether we were a peacemaker, whether we, that peacemaker in the family that tried to get things to be copacetic, or was it in the workplace that we were doing the same role where we were, people pleasing in that other part? One of the biggest things that physicians have is a sense of altruism, to give back, to help others that are in need with the knowledge that we have. Now, taking that knowledge isn't just to give back, but it is to give to ourselves, right? The ability to actually put our gift into the world. Now, that gift is only a gift if you're able to wield it. If you're able to take that gift and put in the time and effort to make that gift a skill that is better than others in the world. And that skill itself will shine its light in everything that you do and everything that you touch. Because from the responsibility, the accountability, and stepping into your power and gift as that skill grows and you become the best version of yourself, that's where probably all the different pieces of a Venn diagram come together and say happiness is right in that middle little shape that happens with a Venn diagram. And that's where most people are trying to strive for or even thrive for, right? But the only person that gets in the way of you achieving happiness is yourself.
Thanks for listening to Dr. Freedom Podcast. I hope you found some value in this podcast, and if you could hit the subscribe button and share with a friend if you found this content valuable.